Yeah, well, I think reframes are important, right? I mean, none of us choose the cards that we are dealt, right? But over the course of your lifetime, over the course of the many decades, I do strongly believe, at least if you are in a country that has opportunities, or you have the chance to get to a country that has some opportunities, then where you end up at the end point is that's up to you, right? We don't choose who we're born to. We don't choose what time we're born, what nationality we are, what we look like. There's all these things that are, people are born into all different type of situations, but you get people who are just, you're just dealt the hands that you're dealt, and then it's how do you play them, and how do you shape those perspectives? So it's always interesting when I talk to people and learn more about their childhood, because whether it was amazing or it was terrible or it was somewhere in the middle or it was some type of combination, what I find is that people who achieve success, whatever they went through, they'll make it work in their favor. You'll have people who they went through some of the worst imaginable stuff when they were young, and they used that all as fuel and motivation, and they learned what not to do, and they learn and then you have other people with a different mindset, and they can be 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're still blaming their mindset, their attitude, their lack of success, whatever it is. It's all but when I was 8 years old, this thing happened. And it's I think you can give that some grace for some time, and then a time comes in your life where it's okay, cool. People have their stuff.
Yeah.
Some people have trauma, some people have baggage, people have their history, but at some point as an adult, it's on you, man. You gotta reframe it and get on with it.
As an excuse, or you can use it as motivation.
Exactly.
Sure, we all know guys who will basically, if you really look at that situation, we know people who have similar backgrounds, but they have different outcomes. I know them people in my life that both lost their parents at a young age. Okay? Disastrous situation.
Horrible, yeah.
I know one guy that is a multi, almost billionaire. And I know one guy who's just sobbing every day of the week and could never get out of his own shadow or the shadow of his parents. So we're all going to do what's shit in our
For sure.
right? And if you want to go down the I have it so bad path, there's always somebody down the block that has it worse. There's always somebody that has it worse. And I can take you to the Special Olympics and they have it worse. Yeah. And I can take you to the cancer center that's worse than the Special Olympics. There's so much worse that you can always go down that victim. But at the end of the day, they say 80% of the people don't care about your problems. 20% of the people are happy you have them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you need to look in the mirror. And there's times where I look in the mirror and I'm like, you again, bro? I gotta look at you? Well, you gotta be man up, bro.
Yeah.
And because nobody cares at the end of the day.
For real.
You gotta figure it out yourself.
For real. And you get the flip side of it. You get people who are dealt pretty much the best possible hand that you can be dealt, and they screw it up.
Squander.
Sometimes in glorious fashion, just going out in a massive ball of flames.
Oh, yeah.
It happens all the time. Tell me more about your time in the nightlife world. How did you even get involved in that?
So, it helps when you're born and raised in Miami.
For sure.
Right? So there's a lot of people that come down here, and I have conversations so where are you from? They're Miami. I'm
yeah.
Where are you from? Yeah, Miami. I'm where are you from?
That's racist.
I'm from Ohio, right? I'm from Ohio. How long you been here? 4 years ago. It's so you're not from Miami at all.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would be where are you from? Miami. So, I'll use the nightlife as a bigger metaphor of what you should do career-wise and utilizing your skills. I think you should double down on what you're good at and outsource what you're not good at.
Okay.
I've always been good at, hey, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Hey, man, welcome. Come on in. Whether that you call that an extrovert, whether you call that networking, whether you call that being a people person, I always knew that I'd be something in hey, good to see you, buddy. Unreasonable hospitality, making people feel good about themselves or leaving people better than you found them. Shout out to the Biz Doc on here on Valuetainment. But, I did parties in college. I did parties in high school. And it was never to make money. It was just, hey, let's have a good time kind of a thing. But then what I started realizing in Miami is that there's money in this business. And I got involved in nightlife in my early 20s after college. I would put together parties. And this is pre-social media, where, you would literally call people up, hey, man, you want to come to my party this weekend kind of a thing. Now just on social media, hey, Club Live this weekend, what have you. So I got into that, and I always had connections. So I was in that world, but then I would always tell people, and this was kind of like my line where I'd always, gravitate people back to mine, because everyone wants to be the man. Everyone wants to run the world. I'm like, I just wanted people to know me in Miami.
Okay.
And I would tell people the exact same line, and I told NBA athletes this. I told rappers this. I told the Kardashians this. I've told everybody the exact same line. I go, look, if you're in New York, you don't need to call me. I'm not a New York guy. If you're in LA, I got nothing for you in Hollywood. Chicago, down, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
But if you're in Miami, give me a shout.
Yeah.
Because I got you. I know things around here. And that started snowballing. It started happening. And then where it really kind of took off to another level was, my dad's from Detroit. I told you that's my mom's from Minnesota. I used to go back to Minnesota every summer, and I used to play basketball. And I used to play in these semi-pro leagues. And this one summer, I meet this guy called Chris Humphreys, who basically ends up becoming a 19-year-old, make it to the NBA. He ends up becoming my buddy. And he came down to Miami, and he's 19. He can't go to the club. So he's like, Adam, you told me to call you when I'm in Miami.
Yeah.
I'm in Miami. Oh, are you coming out with me? I was running a hotel and a nightclub at this point. So I went out with Chris. Now, Chris ended up becoming, a buddy to a good buddy to one of my best friends. And, where the story ends is that he ends up dating and marrying Kim Kardashian. Yeah. So now I'm rolling. I was a groomsman in the wedding with the Kardashians. People were like, what? It's the most obscure random story ever. Yeah, I walked Khloe down the aisle, and I ended up becoming good friends with all the Kardashians and Lamar Odom and Scott Disick, and we're going out, and I'm meeting all these people, all these NBA guys, but it always started with, hey, man, good to see you, good to meet you. So now I have a bar in Miami. If you're ever out in Miami, go to Bodega down in Miami. But I think that's part of who I am, but I realized that I don't want to be a nightlife guy my whole life. I remember it was a Tuesday night. I'm like 25 years old, and I'm seeing who's like the biggest guy in nightlife at this time. I don't want to say his name, but he's out there. It's a Tuesday night. He's like sweating. He's probably on drugs. He's fighting with his girl on a Tuesday night. I'm 25, 26 at the time. He's probably like 40 at the time. Okay. I say, I do not want that to be me. So what can I do to use this skill set of networking and, relationships to make money? Yes. So that ended up being sales, and you can do anything in sales. You could sell anything. I ended up getting into financial sales, and I ended up doing that. But my job for my company, this is how I met Patrick Bet-David, to kind of bring that story together. My company would send me to be sort of the face of the company, as the brand ambassador, the face of the company at all these financial conferences all around the country. So that was me, and I always pride myself with that. So there's people who are better behind the scenes. There's people that are better behind the camera. There's people who are better in front, brand recognition. So that was always my skill set, and I'm just trying to utilize my strengths and outsource my weaknesses. Now, if you told me to turn on one of these cameras or put this lav mic on, 0% chance it happens, but just playing to my strengths.
No doubt, man. And when did you start your podcast, Saucecast? How long has that been running for now?
2016, I started just social media. So all my handles are Sauce Talks Money, which is talking about money, talking about money, talking about money. All we talk is money, save that money. But when I joined Valuetainment, he's like, hey, you got to reinvent yourself. Okay. It can't just be money. So I started Saucecast in 2021. Okay. So, and that's, he's like, you can't just do the money thing. Just
do the money thing, yeah.
So basically, it's what I say, it's the sexiest financial show in the world. We're talking finance, we're talking romance, and where that kind of intersects. Yeah. So that's been a go.